Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Whitley, and today a horror nightmare themed board game is going to help me decide what I'm going to be reading for the month of October. It is that time of year again. It is the beginning of the best time of the year. It is finally spooky season. Not only does that mean that it finally starts to cool down here in Florida, but it is Halloween time. This time of year always puts me in such a specific reading mood. Obviously, I want the horror, I want the spooky, I want the creepy, I want the twisted, but I also want the atmospheric, I want the gothic, I want the witchy. I might even want some cozy vibes. And to help me decide which books I'm actually going to be reading in the month of October, I have revamped this game called Lucidity. It's a dice board game all about nightmares. You either defeat the nightmares or you become them. So I thought, what better game to help me decide my most nightmarish TBR? Horror is absolutely one of my favorite genres to read from, especially this time of year. I wasn't always super into horror. Over the last couple of years, I've definitely come in to my horror spooky era. Growing up until I was probably in my mid 20s, I was such a scaredy cat. I refused to go into a haunted house, even when my friends and family were begging me. I was like, no, no, thank you, not for me. Well, when I was 15, my sister actually took me to a haunted house and she had it coordinated where all of the scare actors were going to call my name and target me out, and one even hid in the back of my car in my back seat. So, in my defense, I was traumatized, and I'm blaming her for the reason that it took me so long to get into haunted houses. But not only would I stay away from haunted houses, I didn't watch scary movies. I didn't watch scary TV shows. I didn't read scary books. I just never understood why people enjoyed the feeling of being scared. Now it is absolutely something that I seek out and do appreciate. I absolutely love horror and spooky movies. I always look forward to finding new haunted attractions to go to every October. I have truly embraced my inner spooky witch. And that love of horror has also trickled into my reading tastes. I am on the hunt for a book that viscerally makes me feel something, whether that be disgust, discomfort, tense, chills down my spine like someone is standing right behind me, just out of my view. I am looking for the type of creepy imagery that sticks with you. I wouldn't be afraid to turn out my lights at night and get into bed. Like, I am looking for the spooks. So that is what we are going to try to find with the help of the board game this month. Before we get into the board game rules and the roles, I did just want to mention that I do plan on participating in a couple of readathons this month. There is a 24-hour readathon hosted by Reading Nymph on October 25th. This is a bi-monthly readathon that really focuses on self-care. She creates these adorable board games that have both reading prompts and self-care prompts, and you just play as you go over the 24 hours or the weekend that you plan to participate. And I am probably going to take the entire weekend. Then there is TBR Harvest. This is a month-long readathon hosted by Leandra over at Leandra the TBR Zero. This is also a play-as-you-go board game-based readathon. She has created 3 entirely different board games for us to choose from. You can play one, you can play all 3, it does not matter. But they are all so freaking cute, and I cannot wait to print them all out and put them in my reading journal and just play along throughout the month. I'm not necessarily going to gear my picks today towards any of the prompts in either of those readathons because the prompts are pretty vague. So I feel like I will be able to kind of fit in what I'm reading with those readathons. And I do just kind of want to play as I go throughout the month, but I wanted to bring them up because if you are interested, I will leave all of the information down in the description along with the announcement videos for both of those readathons. I have always absolutely loved board games. I still have board game nights with my family, which I absolutely adore. And I love watching everyone post their unique TBR games. It is one of my favorite things to watch. I actually have a Chutes and Ladders themed TBR game that I created when I was posting videos years ago. I'm undecided if I want to bring that back out and incorporate it now or maybe create a new one. Let me know if you like this format of TBR where I play a game to help me decide what I read for the month. But today, since it is spooky season, we are using Lucidity to help me decide. And here's how it's going to work. So we have this bag that is full of different colored dice, and each color corresponds to a different nightmare. We have 4 different nightmares, and I have linked each nightmare to a different genre. The artwork on these cards is truly incredible. It is so gruesome, but so beautiful. So first we have the Nightmare of Imprisonment. If we draw a yellow die, that means we are going to pick a thriller. We have the Nightmare of the Depths. If we draw a blue die, that means we are going to read a supernatural or paranormal book. We have the Nightmare of Envy. If we draw a green die, that means we are going to be reading a cozy book, even though there is nothing cozy about this nightmare. And lastly, we have the Nightmare of Primeval Fear. I think that's how you pronounce it anyway. If we draw a red die, that means we are going to be reading a horror. They also have these kid-friendly versions of the artwork of the nightmares as well, and they are just also so adorable, so cute. I had to show them off as well because whoever did the artwork for this game needs a raise. Like, so cool, so cute. Each die that we are going to draw corresponds to the player board and a symbol on it. This board represents us, the dreamer, and as you can see, some of the tracks have a maximum number of dice that they can hold. If one of these tracks get filled, that means the nightmares win and I have to pay the consequences. First, we have the power symbol. If I roll a power symbol, that means I get to choose a highly anticipated or hyped book in that genre. It is impossible to fill this track with the amount of rolls that I'm going to do, so we are not going to have any consequences for rolling power. Next, we have the hunt symbol. If I roll the hunt symbol, I'm going to have to hunt for an underrated book on my TBR. I'm considering underrated to be about under 10,000 ratings on Goodreads. If this is filled in the real game, you lose. So it's going to be the same for me. If I fill this track, I'm going to have to scrap my entire TBR and start over. I'm really hoping I do not fill this track up. Next, we have the exhaust symbol, which is the little snoozies. If I roll an exhaust symbol, I am going to have to choose a book that I think I could finish in one night, which in my mind is a book under 300 pages. If I fill this track up, I become exhausted and I have to add another roll and therefore another book to my TBR. And lastly, we have the shadows. If I roll a shadow symbol, I am going to have to trudge through the shadows and bring a backlist book into the light. And a backlist for me is something that has been on my TBR for over a year. To consider one of these tracks filled, I only need 3 dice. So if I do end up filling one of these tracks, I have to add a book to my TBR that corresponds to the nightmare of the track that I filled up. For example, if I were to fill up the Depths nightmare track, I would have to add a book to my TBR that kind of fit the vibe of the Depths. So think like ocean horror or underwater horror. How each turn is going to work is I'm going to draw 3 dice out of the bag and I'm going to choose one to roll. Then we resolve that roll by putting the dice on its corresponding square and picking a book that fits both prompts. I'm going to be playing 10 rounds. I'm going to be rolling 10 dice for 10 books. That is obtainable, but definitely still a challenge. There are some more complex rules when you're actually playing this game, but that is all you need to know for my TBR version. I know it was a lot of information, but I think it'll be pretty simple once we actually get into the roles and see how it works. So without further ado, let's get into the roles. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to draw 3 dice, and we are going to pick one to roll. I have 2 yellows and a red. Okay. I think I'm going to pick the red. Let's start it off with a horror. Okay. Roll 1. Ooh, we got power. Very nice. What a great way to start. Our first roll was a hyped horror. For this, I'm going to choose Pen Pal by David Auerbach, I think is how you pronounce it. I have been wanting to get my hands on this book for a while now. There has been so much hype surrounding this book. I have seen it on so many people's lists of scariest books they've ever read, which is so exciting. I don't know much about the actual plot, and I do kind of want to keep it that way going into a book like this. I've heard it be compared a lot to a creepypasta, which is just like an internet scary story that gets passed around. I know we follow this guy who's on a journey to either remember his childhood or just kind of make sense of everything that happened when he was a child. I've heard so many people say that this truly gave them nightmares, that they constantly felt paranoid while reading it, like someone was watching them the entire time, and that it genuinely freaked people out. And that honestly sounds so promising. Like, give it to me. I want to be freaked out. I want to be spooked. Bring it on. The cover is also absolutely giving Slender Man, which is probably one of the most famous creepypastas on the internet. It's like an urban legend. I love an urban legend. I love a horror set in the woods. I don't love when teenagers start murdering real people in the name of said urban legend, but I digress. I have really high hopes for this one, and I'm hoping that this is going to be exactly what I'm looking for this time of year. Roll 2. Let us see what we get. Blue, blue, and red. Okay. So we just had a red, so let's mix it up. Let's do a blue. Roll 2. We have a shadow. For roll 2, we got a fantasy backlist. And for this, I'm going with The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. This was added to my TBR August 5th of 2020. So this baby has been on my TBR for over 5 years. I've heard such good things, so I am ready to get into this one. This young woman, Emmanuel, lives in a place and time where this holy prophet is the judge, jury, and executioner of her village. Considering her birth disgraced her entire family because she was fathered by an outsider of a different race, she tries her best to worship this holy father and to be a good little subservient girl. But one day she finds herself in the forbidden woods surrounding Bethel, their town, where the first prophet murdered 4 witches in the woods. And the spirits of these witches bestow her the gift of her dead mother's journal, who come to find out tried to take refuge with the witches in the woods. At first, Emmanuel is just confused as to why her mother would consort with witches because her entire life she has been told that magic is evil. As she reads further and learns more, she starts to uncover these gruesome truths about this church and its history. The words of her mother make her really want to start to make a change in this town. And I think with her mother's words, she starts to realize that she has more power than she thinks she does. The synopsis, mixed with this beautiful cover, is giving gothic, Salem witch trials, female rage, and I am so excited to get into this one. Roll 3. We have a blue, a yellow, and a red. This may be a terrible idea, but I'm going to go for another red. I really want some horror this month. Roll 3. And we have a hunt. For roll 3, we have an underrated horror. I'm going to be putting The Haunted Forest Tour by James A. Moore and Jeff Strand on my TBR. This has 8,500 ratings on Goodreads, so I think it definitely qualifies as being underrated. I haven't heard anybody talk about this book, and this title kind of explains everything you need to know. It is The Haunted Forest Tour. It is an offered tour through a haunted forest in this armored tram. And this tour lets you get glimpses of these dangerous, terrifying, hungry creatures that live in the woods. I love that this book takes place during Halloween. What a better time to read it. And for Halloween, this tour company is offering an exclusive tour that is going further into the forest than any civilian has ever seen before. Of course, they promise everything is totally safe. We've taken every precaution. You are in no danger whatsoever. But we've heard that before. I'm looking at you, Jurassic Park. This premise just sounds so much fun, and we know that this tour is not going to end well, but I am so excited to read about how everything is just going to go horribly wrong. Roll 4. We have 2 yellows and a green. Let's go for something a little cozy, shall we? Roll 4. Power. For roll 4, we got a hyped cozy book. I'm going to be adding The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. Even though this book was released years ago, it is still talked about so much. Every year around this time, I see it all over my feed. It is wholesome. It is cozy. I am so excited. I've seen it compared to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is absolutely one of my favorite cozy fantasy books, so I have very high hopes for this one. In this, we follow Mika. She is living in the mundane world on her own where she has to hide her powers. Except she posts videos online pretending to be a witch. She doesn't think anyone is going to take her seriously until out of nowhere she receives this letter that is asking her to come help raise these three young witchlings and help them control their magic. And there she meets some quirky characters, including our three little witches and a grumpy librarian. It sounds like there may be a little bit of dislike to romance because Jamie, the librarian, is super protective of these three girls and of this house in general. And as Mika is a stranger and an outsider, Jamie does not trust her. But the more time she spends there, the more comfortable that she's getting, and the more she's kind of starting to realize that maybe this could be a home for her, a place where she actually belongs, which she has never had before. I absolutely adore the found family trope, and I love a cozy romance, so I have very high hopes for this one. Roll 5. We have a green, a blue, and a red. We have at least one of each of these. Let's go for another horror, honestly. Let's do it. Roll 5. And we have a shadow. For roll 5, we got a backlist horror, and for this, I'm going with Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar. This has also been on my TBR since 2020. I added it on August 27th. This is a campy young adult slasher that also takes place during Halloween. So I thought, what better time to pick it up than now? The town of Kettle Springs is going downhill fast. Their only factory has shut down and it has the entire town up in arms. The adults are blaming the kids because apparently they had this big party and one of the teenagers ended up dead. But the kids are obviously blaming the adults, saying it's all their fault. And while they're all bickering and squabbling, their creepy clown mascot of their town comes to life and he decides to come in and make both sides pay. We'll be honest, I'm not expecting a whole lot from this. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. A lot of people did not like this one, but that in no way does not mean that I am not going to enjoy it. I am just going into it with the mindset of I'm just looking for a fun, campy time. No October TBR is complete without a slasher, and this one has been on my TBR for years. And even though I didn't start watching horror movies until recently, I do love the atmosphere of that 80s slasher vibe, and I feel like this is going to give that to me. There's also a film adaptation, which is super exciting because after I read this, I can go and watch that and do my little comparison. Even though I'm usually correcting the movie the entire time and annoying my husband with my, hey, in the book, did you know that this happened? That's not how that was supposed to go. But he's a trooper and he seems to enjoy my rantings, so we're all good. But maybe it'll surprise me. We'll see. Roll 6. We have 2 reds and a yellow. We haven't had a yellow yet, so let's go for it. Roll number 6. Sleepies. Roll 6 is a thriller under 300 pages, and I'm choosing The Pallbearers Club by Paul Tremblay. This is 278 pages, so just under that 300-page mark. I am slowly making my way through Paul Tremblay's backlist. He seems to be a very polarizing author. You either love his work or you hate it, or you're somewhere in the middle where some of it really works for you, where others are total misses. More often than not, though, I am on the side of really enjoying his stuff. And what better time to pick up a book about grave robbing than at Halloween? From the synopsis, I'm thinking that we might follow the same kind of layout that we did in Horror Movie, which was the most recent Paul Tremblay book that I read and absolutely loved. I actually vlogged my experience reading that one, so if you have not seen that yet, I will link it above. But it sounds like we're going to follow kind of the same dual timeline situation that we did in Horror Movie in this one. I may also be totally wrong about that, but reading the synopsis, it did kind of seem like we were going to get a past timeline and then the present timeline. So in this, we follow Art, who is a very uncool loner kid in the 80s who starts an extracurricular club for volunteer pallbearers for funerals that, need pallbearers that don't have the people to come carry their coffin. and he is shocked when one of the super popular cool girls joins his club, but it seems like she's only doing it to get closer to the corpses. Turns out our little girly pop likes taking pictures of them, and that's not all. She also keeps going on about some folklore surrounding like digging dead bodies up, and these strange things just keep happening whenever she's around. And now in the present, Art is writing his memoir, The Pallbearers Club. And when his little friend finds out that he is writing about her, she is not happy. I am a little nervous about this one just because so many people did not like this one, but Kayla over at Books and Lala, who I seem to share pretty similar horror taste with, gave this 5 stars. So we'll see where I land. I'm hesitantly optimistic. Rule 7. We have red, blue, and green. Let's do another red.
Roll number 7. More power.
Roll 7, we got another hyped horror. And for this, I'm choosing The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is a feminine rage psychological horror that I have been seeing everywhere since its release last year. We follow an Asian college student, Ji Wan, I think is how you pronounce her name. And she starts having these disturbing but enticing dreams about eyes. I believe she starts fantasizing about eating her mom's new boyfriend's eyeballs. This guy, George, is a real piece of work. He's obnoxious, he's condescending, he is a pig, and Jiwon has had enough. I absolutely eat up A Descent into Madness, and I've heard that this reads kind of like a fever dream, which is right up my alley. Roll 8. Another blue, green, yellow. Let's do blue this time.
Roll number 8. Another shadow.
Roll 8, we got a backlist fantasy, and for this I am going with Slewfoot by Brahm. This is the newest backlist that I have added to my TBR. I added this on May 24th of 2024. This is a dark, historical, fantastical horror. I have heard absolutely nothing but rave reviews about this, and I am so excited to get into it. The year is 1666. We are in colonial New England, following a young woman who has just lost her husband. Now that her husband has passed away, she is left vulnerable in this patriarchal Puritan village. And enter Slewfoot. He is an ancient spirit that Abatha has turned to for help. But Slewfoot has to decide on his own what kind of life he wants to lead after he is awakened from his long slumber. But so does Abatha. I'm really hoping we get to see this patriarchy fall and that Slewfoot and Abatha just wreak havoc on this village. I am always here for some good for her revenge. It feels like this is going to be a dark, witchy fairy tale that just seems so on par with the Halloween season. I'm so excited. Roll 9. And we have red, green, and yellow. Guys, I'm going to do another red.
Roll number 9. Another hunt.
The penultimate roll, hopefully. We got another underrated horror. I'm going to be choosing Knock Knock Open Wide by Neil Sharpson. This only has about 3,000 ratings on Goodreads, but on the contrary of the other one, I have heard a couple people talk about this one. This woman, Etain, is driving home late at night on these Irish country back roads, and she stumbles upon a dead body. And what do you do with a dead body when you find it on the side of the road? Obviously, you pick it up and take it to an abandoned farmhouse. Apparently, this only begins her night of absolute horrors, but she does survive and she swears to never speak about this night ever again. Decades later, I think we switch perspectives to a college student named Betty. She has fallen in love with the beautiful, troubled Aisling, but Aisling refuses to let Betty near her family, especially her alcoholic mother, who is none other than Etain. As they grow closer, Betty starts to learn of Aisling's tragic family history. And Aisling seems to think that her horrible family past has something to do with this children's TV show. It's one of those instances where no one really seems to remember the same version of this television show, and Aisling is the only one that seems to remember that there is this black goat puppet in a box that only comes out when you misbehave. This actually reminds me of an old creepypasta that I've heard that talks about this children's television show that there seems to be no record of, but multiple people remember it. And looking back at it through the lens of an adult, it was a horrific TV show for children. I don't know, it just kind of sounds like it's giving similar vibes to that, and I'm hoping this one is just as creepy. I love a horror revolving around familial relationships, around history, around mythology. So this sounds like something I could really enjoy. And lastly, Rule 10. Two reds and a green. They're pushing me. They want me to do it. So I'm gonna do it. My last roll is gonna be a red.
And hopefully our last roll, number 10. And exhaust.
We have made it, folks. The last roll. Roll 10, we got a horror under 300 pages. What a great way to finish it off. For this, I'm going to choose a horror novella, We All Rot Eventually by Mia Ballard. This is only about 100 pages, and I have really been wanting to try something from Mia Ballard. She has a new release coming out, I think, early 2026 that I am so intrigued about. So before that does release and I get my hands on it, I did want to try one of her older books. With it being 100 pages, I obviously don't know much about it. I know the year is 2005, and Alexis wants to be famous. She moves to LA to become an actress, but the more her ambitions grow, so does the darkness inside of her. And I'm just hoping for a bloody good time. So this is kind of a vague representation of the stack that I have for October. Not hefty stack, but I think I can manage it. I am so excited to get into the Halloween mood, and I really think that I have some really good mood setters in here. I am just so excited for October in general. There are so many haunted houses that I am wanting to check out this year. I'm really hoping to get to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal. We have Terrifier this year. We have Five Nights at Freddy's. There are so many good houses this year, so I'm really hoping that we can make it this year. I'm also really looking forward to obviously doing pumpkin carving, making some sweet treats. I have some spooky Halloween themed vlogs planned, so look out for those. And thank you so much for watching. I had such a fun time letting Lucidity choose my TBR for October. Let me know in the comments if you liked this format. Maybe I'll use it again in November. Or maybe I'll revamp a completely different game. Maybe I'll bring back my Chutes and Ladders. Let me know down in the comments what you think. And while you're there, leave me a jack-o'-lantern emoji to let me know that you've made it this far. Let me know what's on your October TBR, and if you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it and subscribe if you want to see more from me in the future. I hope you have a spooktacular Halloween season if you celebrate. I hope you are absolutely loving what you are reading lately, and I will see you soon for another video. Bye, friends.